Hello,
Hello.
Mick.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me on Inner Glow. So for the listeners,
Yep.
I was trying to think of how would I describe Mick? And I was like, the first word that came into my head was actually adventurer. And then I wanted to say entrepreneur, but then I was like, I feel like before that you're a community creator.
Okay.
And
I thought
like,
about that.
yeah, it's like, I mean, that's my experience of like yourself and Laura through the cafe, and certainly like the conversations that you were when you were sharing with me the business that you had in Sydney and
Yep.
then the boat thing. And I was like, well, you've just built communities around you wherever you've gone, and like really quickly and become very good friends with people in the places that you've been in. And I was like, "Oh, that's really yeah, that one's definitely before entrepreneur or sort of somewhere there."
They just happen though, don't they? When you meet those people, when you go to certain places and you just find people you just click with straight away. You're like, no, that one's no, you're not going to gel with them. You're not going to gel with them. And you try.
Yeah.
But then certain people, you're just like, oh, there's so many. You just feel it, don't you? Like when I met you
Mm,
and then when, Stu and you meet all these extra people, you're just like that. You sort of know, you're like, oh, I'm going to be seeing a lot of this person.
yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's nice because it doesn't need to be a significant event. It's just familiarization with each other and then just going, yeah,
And then it just opens.
yeah, yeah. You end up checking off a few of the same morals, and you end up seeing you got a few of the same ethics, and everyone's got a twisted sense of humor that's part of any community that I'm involved in.
I think it's healthy.
Well, they're the best people. Yeah, you've got to be slightly warped, otherwise it's like, well, you haven't really asked the right questions, have you?
Mm. Or even, have you lived?
Yeah, that's right.
Have
Yeah,
you lived? I
yeah,
feel like your sense of humor should be way more wacky than
yeah.
this if you've really lived.
Exactly. You gotta have some kind of little quirk or some kind of little thing. It's just like, "Oh, okay, that's a battle scar."
Yeah. Yeah. And just I think when you've really lived, like the sensitivity to different people and language,
Yep.
like I know how easily people can get offended. I think of myself, I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. Now more than ever, though, as well, isn't it?
Mm, mm.
Just sit there with your lips closed, just saying I don't know. I feel like that the community in particular that we've had up here has just been, and with everything that sort of happened with COVID and how different people responded to that, it was nice to see how amicable everyone was,
Yeah,
and how diplomatic a lot of people were, even though they had extreme views.
yeah,
The people that were part of our sort of central community were just always, didn't matter what side of the fence you were on, there were just really good conversations going around it.
yeah.
And it was just, yeah, I think it was really healthy.
And I think it helps, like with yourself and the team that you have there,
Yep.
just being that much more relaxed and open minded about receiving different people's opinions and views
Yeah.
and not getting caught up in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
you're able to listen and, share if it's a shared perspective,
Yep.
but also just listen kind of like, okay, yep, this is your perspective of the world.
Yep.
I honor your perspective of the world.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of them are pretty good. Like, really, realistically, there's only a small handful of people that you're just like, whoa, shit.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a bit dangerous to be out in the community, but maybe
Yeah.
you're just having a bad day.
Maybe. Every day. A bad every day.
Well, remember that one guy that came in? There was one guy that came in one day when I was trying to fix some blinds, and he came in and he was all agitated. He's like, do you want to ask us, do you want to see my ID? He was,
Oh, I
it
remember.
was really,
Yeah.
really intense. He goes, do you want me to put a mask on now? And came up in my face. And I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
"Hello?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you were sat down, I
Oh,
think.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
sitting down. He came
yeah.
up to us and I had all my tools there. And I was just like working. He just came,
In your face.
just started in my face, just like, oh, do you want this? Do you want this? I'm like, hang on. Just got up, put my hand on his shoulder. It's like, mate, it's all right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you just needed a hug.
I think so.
Well,
Felt like it.
either a hug or a punch. It was-
I think a hug is always the best way to go.
I-
Or the first way. I don't know. I was going to say the safest way. Oh, hey, hang on a second.
I forgot so.
No, we're still going.
Oh, we're on.
No, we're still going.
Oh, we're still on.
I thought we cut out, but we're still good.
Yeah, no, there's a good bunch. Thank you for being part of it.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, it's nice to. One of the things that I was really nervous about when I moved from Brisbane was meeting and like the community aspect of it. Like I had my local yoga studio, my local restaurants and cafes, and I knew the owners, and so I loved that
Yeah.
being part of a small community. And saying that when you're in a city in Milton, like that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
That there is that small community feel, but there really, really was. And it was, I'd lived there for 4 years. So
Yep.
I was like, oh God, like how am I going to create this? How am I going to have this again? But, it happened really quickly with the cafe on the other street at Schwenky. So I met a lot of girls
Yep.
and small business owners through that,
Yep.
female business owners. And then accidentally, like my neighbor sent me a photo of your sticky chai board, and I was like, I'm there.
Yeah, right. Oh.
He was having a coffee and he was like, send me a photo. It's like, want to come join me for a cuppa? And I was like, yep.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, and I was like, that's my favorite chai. You've got my favorite chai, so I'm coming back here again.
So we got you with a try.
Yeah. And then he kept me with all of the love and kindness.
There's been some funny nights. It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been yeah.
Yeah.
I think that even though we're flooded with tourists and there's so many people that are always coming and going, and it's always open to anyone.
Yeah.
But you just there's certain ones that stick. Like there's a good solid crew there. Do you reckon that's the best way when you move to a new place to just find your favorite little cafe and then spend time there?
Yeah.
And then like plant your seed from there.
I think one of the ways, I mean, I've been to lots of different community events as well whilst I've been up here. So just like local kind of gatherings and little festivals where you get the opportunity to do a bit of networking.
Yeah.
And, I've built a few close groups of friends through that, which, again, like, I mean, I'm that way inclined.
Yeah.
So I will put myself out there, even though it's sometimes really uncomfortable. It's like, I'm just going to go to this by myself. And, if I meet somebody, I meet somebody and it's okay. Like, like if I'm not doing that, then I'm indoors and wondering how I'm going to meet people.
Yeah.
So, it's like, well, I either go out by myself and try or stay at home and don't meet anyone and then wonder why I don't know anyone. Doesn't really work, does it?
No, the equation is something like that. The thing is, you're already over the finish line as soon as you go to somewhere like that, because you're going to see this person play, that person play, these people play, and you're there for this workshop and this. So straight away, everyone's paying money to go to that. They're all invested in the same thing you are. So you're pretty much already a mate the moment you walk in.
Yeah, which I love. Yeah,
they're nice. And coffee sort of does that to people a little bit as well. Like, the little sticky chai crew that we got that all just everyone sort of came in for the sticky chai. There was one morning I just looked around and everyone's just sipping their sticky chai.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, this is like a community within the community.
Yeah. Oh, the sit group. The sits.
Yeah. Them as well. They're sticky chais.
They're sticky chais.
Yeah, they're No. How do you feel? Sorry, but how do you feel about this area after living in Brizzy and now being here and setting yourself up here?
I love being this close to the ocean.
Yep. But pace-wise?
Sometimes, I love it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, again, in a city, Milton had a slower pace. Like I could tell the difference between Milton and then walking 15 minutes down the road and being in the CBD.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit different. And granted, Brisbane's city pace versus London, where I grew up, it's pretty dang chilled.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's
here it was,
perspective, isn't it?
yeah, but here it was just that I feel like moving here reminded me of what Brisbane was like in my first few years,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was a lot slower, and I was like, "Oh, I can relax again."
Yeah.
How did you feel? Because 'Cause you've moved up from Sydney.
I think
Oh,
the
well,
same kind of thing. I think
yeah.
the pacing, like, because that was the benchmark for us was Sydney, and like, it was pretty hectic. And going out, there was always some kind of drama happening at some train station somewhere.
Yeah.
People doing this, another group doing that, and there was always it was a little bit. It wasn't intense, but you were always ready. You were always had to check yourself. But up here, it's just so much like, it's just relaxed and
Mm.
it's just slow. And even the idea of like somewhere like Nambour, that gets a bad rap, and we were there, and it's just like compared to Sydney, it's nothing. So that whole
Mhm.
perspective side of things. But being up here to this, to this little area, I think it's a good pace. I think it's the
Yeah.
ideal place to bring up kids.
Oh,
The
yeah.
the best one that I heard was an excavator driver that had driven all around Australia. And he came past here one morning on his way to work, and the group of girls were going for they were young. They were going for a surf before school. And he's just like, last place he was Holsworthy in Sydney, and seeing kids grow up there on his way to school, smoking whatever in the
Mm.
bush and up to no good. And up here, these kids are getting up when just on the crack of dawn to be
Mm.
able to go for a surf before they go to school. And it's just like, that's what I want
Yeah.
my little human to
Yeah.
experience. And that's what Sunny Coast has.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely got that, especially this like little region,
Yeah.
this side of Wayland Street. No. No, just
The right side of Wayland Street.
the whole strip. I think they've got it right. I think the Sunny Coast have a good work-life balancing. Sort of,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm happy here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Now you've picked a word for you to just give some insights into what, what you feel about it. So I'm having our wonderful guests pick some words out of my little bucket, and these are emotions or states of being, and Mick has picked.
Oh, creative.
So what does that mean to you?
Oh, it means it's probably the place where I reckon you can spend the most amount of in-depth time without ever getting bored.
Mm.
Like when you start to, um, you know, pull your crosshairs on an idea and start to drill down on how it could actually work, and then you don't know, so you got to get creative. I guess there's people that learn by following a book, like, oh, how do I do this? I've got to read the instructions. There's other ones that would prefer to just look at that big IKEA mess on the ground and just be like, all right, show me the finished picture. Yep, I've got that in mind. I'll be able to make it look like that, and make piece of mistakes along the way, but it's so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. I'm taking it you're that one.
Oh, just to follow the list, it's just like, it just kills me. So now I've got to do this for you and your bloody package so I can have a package. Like, I'd just rather go, it's a puzzle. This is what it's going to look like at the end. Give me all the screws and stuff, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
90% of the time it goes pear-shaped, but 100% of the time it works out well. But
From the fun point.
yeah.
And what happens when it doesn't work out well? When it doesn't look like the picture?
Well, that's creativity.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's when you just dive back into it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, hang on, you got to like imagine how it needs to actually work to fit together the way that it's not sliding. Why isn't it working good? Like, just the basic mechanics of everything come down to creatively using your experience on what has worked and what hasn't worked in before. Like, everything's transferable, whether you're talking about you're pulling a drawer out and it's stuck. We don't just rip it. You think you've got to just lower this side down, make sure the gaps are even. I'd imagine it's the same with, I don't know, painting fingernails. Push the cuticles back, and you got to make sure the brush gets in there, and you got to just keep the right bit of clearance from either side so you don't go on the skin.
You've
Like,
got some practice with that.
painters and nails in my time, babe.
I was thinking, Zena's kept you pretty busy.
Something about the word cuticles that just stays with you.
Yeah.
And I heard that when I was younger, and it's like,
Cubicles.
that's going to be my big person word. What does it mean to you? What does creativity mean to you?
Oh, well, the first thing that came to
Creative.
my mind, so as you were saying with where you can get lost in it and it's incredibly enjoyable and consuming in a way that you lose all sense of space and time.
Yep.
Um, and I know that I've been there many, many times, and then I've got to remind myself that I've actually got to do something.
Yep.
Um, I'd certainly say that it's where I'd like to spend most of my time if I could.
Yeah.
And you can work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a goal to achieve.
Well, I think throwing yourself in the deep end all the time with your life is where you end up always finding yourself in that situation. Like, we hadn't owned a cafe before.
Yeah.
Every industry we jump into, it's always been a brand new one. And you can either read your way out of it or you can create your way out of it. And it's the same as like when you watch your kids play on the what are they called? It's just like a spider web down the gym there. You've got to climb on and watching them learn to coordinate and come up with creative ways to move around the new equipment and everything. Like, it's like the creative side is every day.
Mm-hmm.
You're always trying to come up with a more creative way
Yeah.
to live a better life. Like,
Yeah.
creation's like, well, I never realized how much I really enjoy the word create. It's a good word. I'm glad I got you Sunday. Perfect.
And creation, like, it's what's the duality of that? Creation and destruction.
Yeah.
Death. If you're not in creation, are you then just dying?
Yeah, well, we're always dying. Maybe it's just like, it's our way of sort of like saying, fuck you to death. It's just like, just before I die, I'm going to create heaps of shit so I stay here a little bit longer somehow. Whether you're creating other humans with children, or whether you're creating businesses, or you're creating concepts, or these, or programs, or so spending time in creation is you pretty much just taking absolute control of what you spend your time with. Like, it's and some people don't like it. I know a lot of people that would prefer just to go down the line. Go down the line. I don't think I'm not, and they already have the story in their head. It's like, I'm not creative. I don't know how to create. I can only draw stick figures. It's just like, they're so self-limiting in what they say. But there would be some thing, if you spent time with those people, to be able to show them that you can actually be being creative. Doesn't mean getting a bloody bit of paper and some paint. Like, being creative is the way you speak to your partner. It's the way you speak to your friends. It's the way it's everything.
Yeah. And I think, certainly from my experience, people think of creativity and being creative as the painter, as the sculptor.
I'm thinking it's the opposite
And
side.
there's so much more to it. Like, it's like, oh, did you come up with an idea for a problem that nobody had had before?
Yeah.
You're creative.
You're correct. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
It's not just about the things that you can see. It's like what's going on up here and how, like, solving puzzles. That's being creative.
100%. And people getting those messes in their mind with their relationships and everything. It's like, well, sometimes you get to, you get to a head, you get to a little sort of joint in the road, and you don't know what's going to happen or what's going to. The only way to do it is by trying to create your way out of it.
Yeah.
Like, try and work out, how do we piece this together so it all works? And what are our goals? What do we want to achieve at the end of it? When you're creating something, whether it's a business or whether it's a community or whether it's a trip across an ocean or whether it's whatever it is, you got to be like, well, this is the goal. This is what we want to achieve out of it. And how do we create it?
So when you embarked on the cafe, so Bucking Seahorse.
Yes.
When you embarked on the Bucking Seahorse, what was your goal with it?
I think it's everyone's dream, isn't it? Like, myself and Lawsy, my wife, we're mad for music. Like, we just love going and watching live music. Saw Hilltop Hoods last night. That was amazing. But to go to a venue anywhere on earth and you can just walk in because you like the music. Then you can go in there and you can order a wine and sit there, have a feed and just watch somebody just get lost in their instrument and just play and just sing and tell stories. And you get, and to be part of that night is just, I think it's a really, really, really important thing. And we missed it, I think, when we lived on the boat because you're quite isolated. So we went from having, businesses in Sydney where it's just people, stuff. You're always on the run, that social life and everything, which was the best. Like, no doubt the best years of my life. They were unreal. But then moving on to another part of life, which we're still, working through, and I guess we're still creating the best life we can. That's the daily goal, I guess, or the lifelong goal at least. But having the cafe, it's so nice just to be able to have these good people around, and doing the boat life, you're not really around anyone, you're just around yourselves, you're around nature, which is beautiful. It's so nice. But after a while, it's like, it'd be good to see some music.
Yeah.
Nice to. So when we got stranded in Indonesia, Lawsy was pregnant again with our second child. And then we flew back home to have the baby, and then COVID happened. So we were sort of trapped here, and the boat was trapped over in Indonesia. And it was a matter of what we're going to do while we're here. And we always walked past this one particular place where the Bucking Seahorse is now. And it's got stairs that go down. It's got a 5-meter ceiling. We always walked past it, even when we first came up here like 6 years ago, and said that'd be a really good live music venue. Small, intimate, good sound, tucked away. And yeah, when it got abandoned during COVID, I remember walking past our laws and like, oh, should we just see what it is? So she called the agent and I called the agent, and one thing led to another. And before you know it, we were signing leases, and it had to happen. It was an opportunity that presented itself. We always said that would be a good location. We were trapped here, and it's just like, let's give it a crack.
Yeah.
Because we know what we like in a place. So we were hoping to be able to find people that like that same thing. So we just made the place that we want.
And I think that's the most important thing with creating your own life or business.
Yep.
Run it and be in it in the way that you would want to be served.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And a place that you would love to visit.
Well, so you're part of the whole picture.
Yeah.
You're not just an end user. You're not just a creator. You're part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's, and certainly something that I always keep coming back to when I get a little bit off track on my own path, it's like, who would I love to go and like work with and, and see and, process this shit with?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? And for me, and is that something that's in my capacity and capability to offer to somebody else? Because if that's what I want, then that must be part of me somewhere.
Yeah.
And if it's something that I want, it's easier for me to create because I can completely relate to it.
Yeah. Well, you can break it down and see the mechanics of it,
Yeah.
can't you? And then the moment you say something, whether it doesn't resonate completely, and if it doesn't stand true, the moment you say it. If it's not true, you can't stand behind it. So you need to be the end user.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, I feel like that industry that you're in as well, like, that's going to make, I guess, the best people that are involved in helping others is people that have actually gone to levels themselves where they've uncovered different things within them that they can then share with people and then help people, and just give people little cues. This worked for me, this worked. And for, I think, 90% of people that you try to help, it's very hard to. So it's nice that you've got a platform where people can actually come to see you. You're getting the ones that are seeking the advice, not the friends of friends that just always come up with all these issues but won't do anything to fix it. Whereas I think if you've got the right people coming to you and they're able to let you in, you're going to be able to help them. Which is, that's a good way to spend your life.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, being able to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. So with we've had some ridiculously long conversations around all that is.
Yeah. Yep.
And personal growth and self-development and all that lovely stuff. What's been one of your, I guess, biggest growth moments or biggest challenges that you've had to deal with in yourself?
When?
Well, what?
In general?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or what's
shit.
something that comes to mind? So, I mean, people listening,
Yep.
they're here because they want to find some insight and maybe just connect a little to someone else's story. So, what's your story, Mick?
That side of it. The thing that the biggest growth.
Yeah.
There's so many. I think there's just a constant, and it evolves. It evolves as life evolves. It's like you think that, okay, the one thing you need to focus on is just patience, temperaments and patience. So
Mm.
that's going to be your focus, and then you end up getting that under control, and then it might be um, frustration. You're dealing with frustration because things aren't working out the way you want them to work out. So there's sort of like, I think I've battled with all of them quite intensely, and I get a little bit, I get really down on myself. Like, I push myself quite hard about it
Mm.
because I feel like I respond better personally. Like
Mm.
if I put shit on myself for not having patience, and it just sort of sound sort of self-defeating if you say if you're being a bastard to yourself about being a bastard. But but I think more so pushing myself, about patience. I think especially with the kids and everything, and just having expectations on how you think your life's going to turn out and how it actually turns out.
Mm.
And there's been that many times when we've set beautiful plans, well created plans, and then something happens, and something always happens. So I've definitely learned to come to peace with the fact that nothing's permanent in that sense. So as far as death and existence and things just passing through life, and we're just literally like we're just part of this little tiny blink
Mm.
of a history that's never going to remember us.
Mm.
And knowing that that's the reality of it, and you're just a creature that needs to do what you need to do. So I think stripping all that back, I've really enjoyed like listening to a lot of Alan Watts.
Yep.
He's been incredible. I've got all these lectures. I think, yeah, uncovering a lot of that stuff has been, I don't know, just puts a new slant on the way that you look at your life
Mm.
and the way you look at everyone's life, and then what's important, because you just get caught up in little fights with yourself, don't you?
Mm.
Like, it's like you're frustrated that this isn't working. It's like everything should have been right, and then it doesn't happen, but then there's no point getting angry. I think that's the thing. Yeah, so I can't say one thing. There's been too
Yeah.
many.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a constant, I wouldn't say battle, like a dance. It's like a wrestle. Every now and then you'll get frustration on the ground and just give it a little noogie, and then other time anger and lack of patience will get on top of you and start elbowing you in the face, and then other times it's all gravy,
Yeah.
but it's just always being ready to do war of the things that are gonna stop you from achieving a good life.
Yeah.
So I just wanna always be ready for that.
What helps? What are some of the things that help you stay ready? So you said Alan Watts and listening to his lectures.
Yep.
What other things help you stay in a place of readiness uh, to manage, to overcome some of those frustrations?
I there's a few little lines every now and then that you hear, like
Mm.
from songs, and I know, Offspring, it was, early days, and they did a song called Nitro, and it was, I can't even remember it now, I just heard it the other day. It's just about you live like there's no tomorrow,
Mm.
and life's short, and that sort of I guess Stoic philosophy goes into a bit of that as well, where it
Yeah.
just talks about, just the impermanence of life. And Buddhism does as well, a lot of it.
Mm.
It's just about acceptance of truth and holding on to truth and loving your fate. So I like that. I like a lot of those Stoic principles, a
Yeah.
lot of the Stoic philosophies. I think that Marcus Aurelius and the letters of Seneca, they're really good things to listen to when things are sort of just all falling apart. And you're just like, you know what? All you got to do is you know what you've got to do.
Mm.
You know that you've got to stop smoking, or you've got to get up and do some back exercises, or you've got to do some pushes, you've got to cut down on alcohol. Like, the things you've got to do. So when things aren't working out the way you really want them to, you got to take some responsibility for that and be like, okay, I'll drink more water. I've got to do more exercise. I need to get more sleep. I need to get more organized. I need to, and get to a point where you're punching. So you do feel like you're above the waves, and you do feel like you're not a toddler out in the water drowning, but you're actually out there diving under the waves, picking the ideal one, catching it all the way in, getting it to shore, standing there, getting the next spot to go out, like just getting experience in the field of life.
And I think that's like taking responsibility is something that I've been witnessing for a long time and just, exploring and thinking about. But certainly in the last couple of years, there's just a lot of abdication of responsibility of self. So giving our power and energy away to other people to make the decisions that they believe are right for us. This is how you're supposed to live your life. This is how you're supposed to do money. This is how you're supposed to do health. This is how you're supposed to do family. And, the more and more that we do that, with clients, I talk about and I work with them to do, it's like pulling back your essence from everything that you've given it away to.
Yep.
And pulling back your energy for everything that you've given it away to, because that level of responsibility, when you fully embrace that
Yep.
and accept it, it's freaking like overwhelming and scary.
Yep.
But that's when you're in full command of your life.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and it's sometimes really scary to watch and witness the level of responsibility people have given away.
Well, it's easier
Yeah,
in the short term.
yeah,
As long as you can't speak, as long as you stay detached from your own consciousness,
yeah,
it's easy.
yeah,
But the moment you get a chance to jump back in, or this is what people have on their deathbed a lot of the time, it's like, that's when you're stuck in a hospital. You don't have all the distractions of life. It's suddenly just you looking at the fucking clock, knowing that it's about to run out. And you're just being like, and then you start asking questions. It's like, no, too late. You should have been asking that shit in primary school. You should have been asking that shit in high school. You should have been like, you shouldn't have got to 65 and then gone, oh, wow, hang on. Why did I do all that?
What was
70
that
or, yeah, what was that for? 45. Like, people's lives go. And they go when they're meant to go. And sometimes it's unfair from our perspective. But as I think it's our job as humans to put yourself in those situations where you've got complete responsibility. I think that's what we love about the boat life. After coming from everything that we're living in Sydney and then living on that, you're literally it's just us and the weather and us and nature. So you've got full responsibility. There's nobody coming to save you if you're out in the middle of bloody nowhere. And, you've got to work everything out. So you've got absolute responsibility for the kids' health. Okay, what medications do they need? They got stung by this. What is this thing? So look it all up.
Yeah.
The wind's going on, storm's coming. Where are we going to hide? There's no maps here. There's no map data. We've got to go in and dive. Just trying to have to work everything out and taking the responsibility for all that. It is tiring as well. It's tiring. It's exhausting.
You're using your brain.
Yeah.
Like, which, in contrast, it's like, oh, people not using
Yeah.
most of the time.
Well, it's that life or death thing as well, isn't it? It's like
your adrenaline and
your adrenaline. Yeah. So you're just like, you're under the pump because you're like, if I fuck this up, there's potentially going to be death going on. So you're just like, no, not under my watch. So you focus and it just makes you pull all your resources together and you just get that.
Yeah.
and you just get that lock on, that creating kind of, again, back to our Sundays card, but you get that little lock onto that, and it's your responsibility 100% to take care of that and make sure it all
Yeah.
ends up all right. And it is a nice thing to be able to do.
Mm.
But then you also can't blame anyone if you make a mistake. You've got to be
Yeah.
able to take responsibility. So,
Who's there?
yeah, you
There's no one else. There's no one to blame.
there's no one there, but in everyday life, when you take responsibility
Yeah.
for your actions and you make a mistake, you can't just turn around and go, oh, it was them, it was them, it was them. It's like, no, you need to step into the truth then and say,
Yeah.
this is my decision, my responsibility. I fucked up.
Mm.
And then you got to cop it.
Yeah.
And some people, I think, are so scared of that, whether it be this education system, whether it be parents, whether it be just society, to be able to get people to a point where they're so scared to publicly make a mistake
Mhm.
and be shamed
Mhm.
that they'd rather just not take any responsibility, then they can't get in trouble, and just do what that person says and just follow them. And then if it fucks up, it's just like, oh, this is all shit. Oh, well, it's
Yeah.
their decision. It wasn't me. I'll give my power away. So it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
No, it was because you gave your power away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really, yeah, like that's such a big reflection to be able to make.
Yep.
And more often than not, like you're just not, like there's too many people not making that reflection. It's easier to blame the other person and not reflect that, well, I didn't challenge, I didn't say what I was thinking or
Yep.
what I was feeling was the truth and the right way to do it. Yeah. And it's, oh, well, I didn't have a choice. But there always is. There's always a choice. And
Yeah.
I personally have experienced that when I first came to Australia and I was made redundant from my job, which was my visa here, and not being able to, or struggling to find another job to take it over,
Oh, shit.
get another visa. And I
And when did that happen? How long were you here for?
I'd been here for, maybe a year.
Okay.
And
And
I'd
then,
been in my job that was sponsoring me for about 9 months or 10 months.
yep.
And they made me redundant. And yeah, for about 4 months, I was trying to working on a new visa and how I could get another visa and what that would look like, living financially, being on a student visa.
You had to start
Um,
getting real creative.
yeah, and then it's like, right, okay, well, I go back to London, I get a student visa, or I find another job that's going to take over from this visa and,
Yep.
and sponsor me. That third option was getting slimmer and slimmer because companies that would have otherwise hired me were like, oh, we don't really want to do the visa thing. And then other companies were like, oh, you're overqualified. Like, just want a job. I just want a visa. I will stay here for 4 years because that's how long I have to. Please employ me. But I got to a point where remember having a conversation with one of my girlfriends in the UK saying, I feel like I don't have a choice. I feel like all of my choices have been taken away from me. I was like, this is the first time I've ever felt like this. Every other job that I'd had, I quit. I resigned when I was ready to, or for whatever the reason was. I was like, this is shit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, hang on, no. And then after the conversation, I reflected. I was like, I do have a choice. Like, I can still get a different visa. And I was like, okay, well, that option's looking challenging because financially it's much tougher.
Yep.
But I can go back to the UK. I can work solidly for a year and then come back on this visa. And it was when I allowed myself to take responsibility for what could happen and just surrendered it.
Yep.
I got a job.
Became flexible. Oh.
Yeah, I like the last interview that I
Oh.
did. I was like, I'm just after this interview, if I don't get it, then I'm going to go back to the UK. I'm going to just work solidly for a year and then come back on the student visa. And the job came through,
Awesome.
and I was like, that's amazing.
Oh,
But I
yes.
accepted the responsibility that I had in that whole creation.
Yep.
It's like, this is what I want to be in Australia.
Yep.
I accept that I have these potential options that I consciously am aware of, and I'm going to let go. Like, if this doesn't happen, then I'm going to do this. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you just kept on that one route, it just would have been
Yeah.
frustrated, kicking up a huff and puff.
Yeah, it's really scary. Like
Yeah.
every day I was waking up and like, have immigration contacted me yet? And then all I was told was just wait for immigration to contact you, and that's when they'll tell you when you have to leave.
Yeah, right. That'd been a pretty weird feeling.
Yeah, 4 months of that, it was intense. I grew a lot of grey hair.
Just walking around, never knowing when you go, "Oi, get out.
Hello. Your time.
Your time's up. Hope you enjoyed Australia. Get out."
It honestly was, feeling like that. When I got my citizenship, I was like, I win.
Yeah.
I win.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, like we all have a choice, like, and we always have two, at least two.
Yep.
Even as hard as they may be, and as tough as they may be, there's always at least two options.
Well, I think Tim Ferriss, he talks about one of his books. I think it was Tools of Titans, or he was speaking about writing down what's the most ridiculous thing you can possibly do. And one of them he said was, I can cut off my foot. Another one is he can be homeless. He can live in a car park down the garage and eat food from the bakery. I was just thinking about what he could do that's just so radical and so stupid. And then doing the same thing and working out what's the worst that can actually happen. And then eating nothing but oatmeal, sleeping out in nature, sleeping in a sleeping bag or something like that. Just see that this is actually everything you're fearing. The worst is you're going to be eating oats, sleeping in a bush somewhere. Is it really that bad? It's not ideal.
No.
But once you actually do it,
Yeah.
it's just like, is this really what I am fearing? And that goes back to the Stoic philosophies, like a lot of Seneca and all his early stuff was all about spending time being uncomfortable. So sleep on the ground, sleep in coarse clothes, eat just dry, like just don't eat fancy food, just strip it all back. Don't treat yourself at all, and just feel that human condition without all the bubbles and all the fluff and all the nice comforts and everything, and just go back to that primitive human. You got your food, you got your shelter, just basics. Strip it all back. And then realize that, like you were saying earlier, all those essences that you've got out, and I'm paying for this, and I want this, and I need this, and I need that, and putting time into all these things that you think you're going to get fulfillment from.
Yeah.
When at the end of the day, and I've experienced this in the desert, just lying there, being able to lie there in a swag on a piece of canvas and just looking up at the stars when you're starving, you're uncomfortable, you're getting bit by ants, but still being able to see all of that. It's magic. And that is everyone's right. Everyone's got access to that. But the most ancient practice that's always kept us level and connected to the greater creative being of the greater creative consciousness, or whatever it is that makes us, being able to just lie there and look at that. Doesn't matter your age, your background, where you come from. That's special.
Yeah.
So I think that's a nice concept.
It's and I feel like, that like I've had moments in my life where it's been such a big contrast to what I've known. I've always been very good with my money. So, good saver, put stuff in the, savings account, investments and stocks and stuff. I've always been really good. But then a few years ago, I was like, oh shit. And it really helped me to fully appreciate, like I wasn't going to be homeless.
Yeah.
But it really helped me appreciate that, oh shit, I might be living week by week soon. And like my savings have, like I've almost used them up, and like what does this mean? And it's really interesting to have had that experience to bring up the awareness of all of these other financial, money, abundance beliefs that I had that were limiting me, even though I'm a good saver and all of that. There were so many beliefs in their subconscious level that were limiting me from experiencing freedom,
Yep.
which is, I mean, ultimately with money, people
Free.
want it because they
Yep.
want to feel free. They want to be happy and they want to feel free. And that was really interesting. Like I fully, or at least I think I did, I fully reflected on that whole experience and being able to be around people that were living week to week
Yeah.
and just witnessing that and thinking, first of all, like the gratefulness that I had for my situation, but also then, if I see that everybody outside of me is a reflection of what is within me. So,
Yeah.
this is all information. And if I'm feeling resistance to something that's outside of me, that's a resistance that I'm feeling within me, and it's just giving me feedback.
Yep.
So what feedback is it that it's giving me? What do I need to become aware of consciously to dissolve, to release, to shift, to change?
There's so many lessons, isn't there? There's always a lesson. Everything's got a little.
Yeah. And I know that, I've seen TikTok videos and Instagram reels or whatever, probably in the last couple of months, and friends have shared them with me, where you've got somebody that's spiritual and are like, oh my God, I've done so much spiritual work. And then, buff on the head and there's more. And it's like, how much more is there? But a really like that actually creates resistance for me in the way that the language that's being used around personal expansion.
Yep.
And I really sit so much more in, well, it's all expansion. And all we're doing is noticing new edges of ourselves that we can then expand beyond.
Yep.
And we didn't know what those edges were when we were in this version of ourselves.
Yep.
But now we're in this version of ourselves where we can see and feel more of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, again, like, it's play, it's adventure. Like, if you look at it and think about it in like hard work, spiritual growth is hard work.
No,
That's not the bloody point. I'm like, that's not what we're here for. We're here to play.
That's it, isn't it?
We're in full English there, but it's not the bloody point.
Yeah, you miss it. Yeah, it's not like you're not trying to run 100 meters in like less than 9 seconds. You're just like a little kid. The first time you jump off the lounge, the next time you jump off the back, then you jump off there, and then you jump off the top. No, and you expand your heights and you expand your range. And you can go through different levels, and yeah, people like it though, don't they? Like it's nice to be able to, I think, snap out of a completely unspiritual life and then snap into something that is a little bit more that way targeted. And I think that's where you get that overacting and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
People have just gone at a full pendulum,
Yeah.
flip to the other side, and they just like got that same amount of chaos over here.
Yeah.
Like beating another drum.
Yeah.
It sort of gives it a bad name.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, yeah, everything gets bastardized. So to be able to help that or hope that there's a bit of purity that can stay within,
Yeah.
the kind of work that I guess it's a large industry now, isn't it? Like,
oh, so big. Yeah.
people are there's something in it. There's meat in it. Like it's tangible, the effects it has on your life. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah. And I guess that's something that, as an industry, so it can't be an industry. It is, like, it just is. Like, and when it, like
Becomes an industry, it starts becoming about figures and profits and squeezing.
and I find a lot of discomfort in that.
Okay. Yeah.
And certainly,
Good.
like, with my own practice and service, I have gone up and down, like, with financial things. Like, how much do I charge to help people? Like, what's fair?
Yeah.
Because
Like you would just do it for free.
Yeah.
But you.
And, and I reflect on my mum, who has done all this sort of work, well, slightly different, what she's learned and inherited from her parents. People just used to rock up at the front door and just be like, oh, is Muggy been in? and then like, oh, like maybe
Oh,
my
really?
child is sick, like, can you do something?
So this is your
That's
right. Yeah, okay.
my sort of my heritage. And my mum just did it for free. And when me and my siblings got older, maybe in our teens, it's like, Mum, you need to charge people for this.
Yeah, right.
Or at least have like a gift donation box. But she never did.
How old was she when she started doing all that?
Well, from when we were kids, like she was always doing stuff with us when we got poorly. Um, and yeah, it's all just about like removing the stuck energy that's in the body.
Yep.
Or like we have a version of the evil eye, um, and removing that energetically.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, so I even think back to, well, okay, well, what can I be doing on a day-to-day basis so I can offer this as a service for free?
Yeah.
Or how can it be more accessible? Because people shouldn't be paying an arm and a leg for spiritual connection.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
But
more and
sometimes,
more it feels wrong. And I know that there needs to be an
yeah.
exchange. Like I'm
Yep.
comfortable with an exchange. Um, yeah, but get creative. Like, be creative with what it is that you're exchanging. Like make it, which I love with some of the things that have been coming up through the last couple of years, like the bartering system. Like
Yep.
I've seen a lot more of that happening. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, here's some veggies for your service, or like, can we do swaps?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and I love that because that's human.
Yeah. The tax department doesn't like it too much. Smarter Barter. There was a company that started like, I think about 9 years ago, maybe even longer. And it was Smarter Barter. So you signed up to it, and then whoever else signed up to it, you could trade services. So if you wanted, a lounge brought up, or you wanted some furniture built, you could say, okay, well, yep, I'll take that, and then in return, I'll give you this
Mm,
therapy. So you'd be able to exchange your services for
mm,
other people,
mm.
or then take that and put it as a credit and use it. So there's a whole platform.
Yeah,
And basically, when people buy with you,
yeah.
then you can buy other stuff with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I think it's great. I
It's
think
just
I've
hard
seen
to,
something like that as well more recently in the last few years. Um, I signed up to the platform actually, and I guess, I mean, even with Bitcoin, you
yeah,
can pay for services now, and people accept Bitcoin as a payment. So you're exchanging what is in the ether.
mm, yeah, yeah. I guess as the recognized skill level is where it gets a bit tricky. And I had one of these the other day because I helped a mate out. Because one of my previous jobs was construction industry. So he wanted some concreting done, and he
Mm.
wasn't too good at doing that. He was a plumber, so plumbers get paid a shitload of money.
Mhm.
Plumbers get paid very well. Concreters, not so much. But um, I did the job for him, and normally when mates do jobs for mates, it depends on trades as well.
Mm.
It depends on mates. It also depends on trades. So if you do, if a Sparky comes to your place for 2 hours, and then you're a bricklayer, or you're a gardener, you're a landscaper,
Yeah.
then is that 2 hours worth that 2 hours?
Mm.
Because this one I normally get charged out at, $90
Mhm.
an hour. So there's $180 right there. This guy's normally 35. So
Yeah.
there's 70 there. So is your time worth your time? So
Mm.
that's where it gets a little bit tricky with the barter, that
Yeah.
whole thing.
And I have thought about that because, yeah, like in some situations, I've got a very high fee.
Yeah.
And then, I might swap with somebody that doesn't. But I'm
Yeah.
like, do you know what? It's value based.
Yeah.
Like if receiving a massage, which costs less than my coaching session,
Yeah.
like yeah. So I think about it time for time and effort for effort, energy for energy,
Yeah.
more so because when you start multiplying stuff
Yeah.
to match the value, the financial value,
Yeah.
like I think you just get into really sticky places.
Yeah. So you reckon it's just about your time? It's like all of our time is worth an equal
Effort.
amount in this space. Yeah. All
Yeah.
our time and effort. Yeah.
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 And there's probably an even smarter way to do it energy based, but don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw one I saw one, it's a beauty therapist and she's somewhere here on the coast, I think maybe in Caloundra. And on her website, she has exchange
Yeah,
as
right.
part of her, payment
Well,
system,
yeah, right.
which is something that I'm looking at figuring out into mine. Like and it's exchange is like the things that she accepts.
Yep.
So it might be organic produce, or it might be like
Yeah,
some
I don't want to
some
know.
DIY sort of
Yeah.
stuff around the clinic and the home, like maybe some gardening or something like that.
Okay.
But then also says like, look, we also need to pay our bills. So of course, like we still would like to be paid in cash
Yeah,
too.
Telstra doesn't accept hot plants.
Telstra would not take the eggplant as payment for this month.
Just send them some truffle.
Yeah.
They're worth quite a bit.
But who knows? Maybe they will.
Yeah.
Has anybody tried? Instead of the direct debit next month, I'm just going to send boxes of lettuce out on the balcony. It's like, apparently lettuce is worth $12 a leaf.
Yeah,
Here you go.
take it off.
There's 20 leaves there for you. That'll cover me for the next 2 months.
Oh, on Australia Post, there'd be some rotten food sitting out the front of everyone's house.
Yeah.
It'd be maybe there will be. Maybe there'll be an energy exchange thing where you'll be able to measure how much effort you put into something.
Yeah.
You sort of can in a way, can't you?
Yeah. And I think also
You just know.
it's a needs basis really, as well. So, if we did a swap and you were like, oh yeah, Bav, like here's a box of box of veggies, because I know that you needed some veggies.
Yep.
And then whatever the swap was, it'd be like, yeah, actually I needed that and you needed this service.
Yep.
So it's a fair exchange.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, they are. It's a good idea.
Yeah. And I guess you just do it, what feels good.
Yeah.
What feels good for both parties.
Yeah. At the end of it, so you both walk away going, all right, nobody got it over anyone.
Yeah.
Actually, just like, I'm happy, you're happy, we're happy.
Yeah. And it shouldn't, like, that sort of a system should never be somebody won.
Yeah.
And somebody lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that would be
yeah.
that would not be human.
No, that's the birth of industry then, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I won't call it the mental health industry. It's more so the just working on life.
Yeah. Just life expansion.
Yeah.
Life expansion from wherever you're at.
Creatively.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been chatting for a little while, which I love. So any last, maybe let's have some last shares, or what's some Mick wisdom that you'd like to leave our lovely listeners with?
Oh, I think it's very, very important I reckon putting the chocolate in with the milk and frothing that up makes a better mocha than mixing the chocolate powder up with hot water. That's my thing.
Wicked.
I think you really need to bind your ingredients together perfectly to be able to make sure that it's got a nice full flavour. And I think that, I think the same thing goes with whoever you're hanging with and whatever life you're living. I think you just got to really try and just have a crack and try different stuff and see what works. And if that doesn't work, my old man had a saying. It was try new tactics and see if they pay dividends. So when something's not working, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else. Like, don't stop trying. Keep on trying and keep on working it out and keep on taking notes and keep on pushing to be able to get yourself to a point where you can just be like, fuck yeah, I love living. This is good. This is good. This is exciting. So, when you can open your eyes and be like, just can't wait to go and get at it. That's a good place to be.
Definitely.
But that only comes from trying and trying and trying and trying and then mastering something. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Mick, my wonderful guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
So good to play with you today.
Yes, it's been so
Been
good
a
to be able to come
great
to your
play.
place.
If you'd like to go and hang out with Mick, go and join him at the Bucking Seahorse on First Avenue in Mooloolaba. Him and his crew and lords.
We'll be there every day, 6 a.m.
Till next time.